Hey guys, this will be our final installment for World War One videos, and we need to talk about winning the war. So we talked about how the United States had to prepare to win a war and fight a war, and now we are going to talk about how we helped win the war. So John J. Pershing, guys, he will be named the commander of the American Expeditionary Force. So that was the force that we sent over to Europe. And Pershing was a very good administrator, very good at putting everything together to prepare to get over to Europe, to getting over to Europe, and putting his troops in a place to be successful. Uh, he also had a very key contribution to the war by keeping the American forces together, keeping them separate from the other Allied armies. So you had France and Britain saying, hey, we've been here for a while. We know how this whole trench warfare thing works. We have the officers. We just need the soldiers integrate. Let us integrate your soldiers, your troops into our armies under the command of our officers. That's what we need, and that's what you should do. And he firmly said, "No, I'm not doing that. I'm keeping my force together under American control, under the American flag." And so that was a big deal because, guys, the British and French, they had been fighting this war for over 3 years now. And so they had been going through this terrible, terrible trench warfare that we talked about last year. They had been, um, you know, down and out and fighting, grinding it out for every little inch day by day. And so they kind of had a defeatist attitude almost to a certain extent. Um, and they were kind of down. And so, Pershing really didn't want to mix his troops with that. And also, guys, this was very key because we maintained a degree of mobility that the French and the British had not. They basically said, "Hey, yeah, this is the game is defensive warfare. Dig in. Dig trenches, create defenses, and the defender is going to have a huge advantage. And so this is what we should do." We were able to maintain some mobility, which was a big deal as well. And so when our troops finally got over after we did this build up, big troop build up, through selective service, through volunteers, like we talked about. We were part of a key defense of Paris, so the Germans were making one last push to try and end the war in early 1918. Well, early-ish, late spring 1918. And then we were part of a group along with the French that really turned back that assault that was pushing towards Paris. So that was a big deal. That could have won the war for the Germans. The U.S. also won a hard-fought victory in the Battle of the Argonne Forest. And so this was a key victory, guys. This was in the Argonne area of France. And basically what happened was with this victory, with this assault that was led by the American forces, by Pershing, we were able to punch a hole through the German lines, which means we were able to then potentially get around and flank them. And so once we punched that hole through and started, streaming through it with troops, then they were in big trouble and they had to continue retreat until they got dangerous. We got dangerously close to the borders of Germany. And so that really kind of concerned them. That put their people in a frenzy and were very concerned about invasion and really forced them to agree to an armistice. And so this armistice was declared on the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, and that's when the war ended. And remember, guys, an armistice is like a ceasefire. It's not technically the end of the war, but that would prove to be the end. So we did not resume hostilities. We were able to work out a treaty of Versailles, right? And so that's kind of what we'll be covering a little bit next week. But for now, that's all. Thanks, guys.